Welcome, dogs. Get your goggles, get your tightest Lycra tri-suit, put on those compression socks. Why be good at one sport if you can be shit at three? This is the Triathlon Mockery podcast. What is going on, dogs? And welcome back to a brand new episode. And there has been a lot of stuff that happened this week, so this is going to be an absolutely electrifying episode. Amigo Maxi, how you doing?
Hello, my dogs. We are back, and like Tom said, it has been a crazy week, not only in my world, but in the world of Tri, and in, I'm sure, all of your worlds. So thanks for tuning in again, and we can't wait to give you another great episode. But I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Let's start off with the high and low. Shall I start off with the low for a change?
Yeah, you go. Bring us down right from the start, mate.
So I was a bit late. I came from a run and I was just relaxing on the couch, and I had to get a haircut. And I thought, like, scoobity scoop, I'm literally 10 minutes away from my hairdress appointment. And as you can see, it's been stiffly naughty cut. But I was late, and I thought, like, shoot, I cannot make it on my commute bike. I have to take my SL7 S-Works because I can make some time up through the city center. And as a proper triathlete, I was, like, spanking through the city center, arriving at her hair salon, and I was like a proper triathlete that only thinks about himself, was suggesting that it wasn't, of course, a problem to bring the bike inside the hair salon. And what a crazy world we live in, right? That you, like, think that it's not a problem because you bring your bike in your own house, like, you stash it everywhere. Yeah. So I was literally just coming in the door with one wheel, asking her, excuse me, is it a problem that I put my bike somewhere up the wall here or like on the floor? I didn't even care why. And she's like, excuse me, no, bikes belong outside. And I said, yes, I'm sorry, I know, but it's I was a bit late, and I thought I'll pick my race bike, and then I'm here a bit quicker, otherwise I would have been late. And she said, oh, mate, I was so flipping ashamed because the saloon was full, and I thought, like, who the fuck am I that I'm rocking out with my flipping S-Works bike or with my normal race bike? I was just so ashamed, but that's how you get caught up in the triathlon world. You know, you start to think that it's normal to rock up at, for example, I don't know, somewhere in your aero calves with a helmet or whatever, and you just get pulled out of that reality.
But dude, that's funny you should say that, because I often get that in hotels, you know, especially when we're traveling to places like Japan or whatever, and you bring the bike up to your room and they're like, mate, you can't put your bike in your room. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't put my bike in my room? This is my bike, you know? Like,
do you know how expensive it is? This bike's 15,000 euros.
That's some SRAM 12-speed E-tap, man.
Easy, triathlete, easy. Like, that is, we get just caught up too much in our own game, and before you know it, you're rocking up in a full saloon, acting like it's normal. What if everyone puts their bike inside right here? And then you start to think, like, yes, it's an absolute crazy thing to do, and I'm so super sorry that I was suggesting that this would have been all right.
I definitely agree with that, man. Like, it's like pre-race here. I was on the treadmill, you know, like there was a really nice gym. They had a fully nice decked out techno gym, you know? Yeah. And I'm just on there. I've got 6x2 minutes at 3:20 or whatever the pace was. And I just get my shirt off. I put the headphones in, just going for it, you know? And there's women in, like, Lululemon just trying to do some stretching. And you're there just sweating like crazy in the corner. And if you just take a step back on that scene, you just think, what the hell are you doing, man? Chill out, you know?
Yeah, chill out. There's other people in this world. And do you know what the crazy thing was? What? That was the first day that her hair salon was open again after the big renovation. And I didn't know that was the first day. And it doesn't even matter if it's like the 100th day or the first day. People are just precious on their stuff. As precious I am with my bike, she's precious with her hair salon. And it just brought me back to reality a little bit. And I thought, like, man, don't just stick your bike everywhere.
It's always good to get a little reality check.
Yeah.
But one thing, talking about reality, my high of the week is I realized that the listeners of this podcast not only reach far and wide, but are extremely kind people. So I just want to give a quick shout out to, I don't actually know his name, but Linos Fu on Instagram, who, when he found out I had the wild card in Singapore, reached out and said, "Hey man, I'm a listener of the podcast. If you want any recommendations for coffee, let me know." And, obviously I replied, "Hey bro, would be great. Just send them through." This guy, I don't know if you can see if people that are watching on YouTube, sent a full PDF of cafes and restaurants and even local guidelines on how to behave. Like
what local? Don't take your bike into the shop.
No, but I just found it incredible. He's given me cafes within walking distance. He's given me local food prices, local apps to download. He's given me Singaporean ethic. Tap water is drinkable. Chewing gum is not allowed. Like, man, massive shout out and just massive thank you, because that was actually really helpful. And yeah, I just found it was such a high of my week,
He literally made that whole PDF file for you.
Yeah.
No.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. I when I was in Girona, I bumped into two women, literally on the Plaza Catalunya. And they were saying, because we literally recorded that episode where we were talking about the Haribo.
Yeah.
They were saying, we're going to the Haribo store tomorrow because we heard in your podcast. We thought they didn't know it was there. So because of that, they knew it was there and they went. They sent me a photo afterwards.
So if ever I'm racing anywhere and you guys are listening, or Tom's anywhere, just keep sending us through the PDFs. We love them.
What's the low then? The low of the week?
Oof, the low has to be yesterday in the back end of the run, my friend. Actually, I've got two lows in that race. My first low is not realizing how important aero positioning is on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, it's just, my last 8K of the run, not pretty. 4:15s across the boardwalk in Singapore was not fun.
Wow.
So, I mean, the race itself, to be honest, from a numbers point of view, was not actually bad at all. I mean, I think I maybe swam a bit too quick. And the bike, I actually pushed 310 watts for 2 hours. So in the heat, you can't really complain. But I've seen files of other guys that put
Let's
2.5
dive into the T100 Singapore in a bit, a little deep dive.
Okay.
Some other people's numbers.
But yeah, my low was dying a slow death on the Singapore boardwalk.
Because it was pretty warm, wasn't it?
It was just a bit hot, mate. It was crazy. What about you? What's your high? Surely you have a high.
My high of the week is I've bought a house, baby, last Friday. Well, it was already like a month and a half ago, but that's when I signed the papers. So small puppies growing up. So exciting steps in life. I would say that's high. Furthermore, this week I'm traveling down to Ibiza for the marathon with a couple of friends. They've been training hard for it. So that's going to be a high, but that's probably the high of the next podcast. I would say that's the high. And I have one more thing about that, about Girona. I've seen some crazy shit in the gym. And since you're living there, I'm curious whether it's normal or it's just me seeing occasionally weird shit. So whenever I was at the gym and was going through the changing rooms, either I see people shaving themselves, like in changing rooms, which I think is completely flipping nuts. Like shave yourself in the changing rooms, like literally with all the hair and everywhere, all that. I think it's like disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Just do it at home. Is it normal in Spain?
I don't know, but that is weird. I will agree. That's really disgusting.
Then when you think that is weird, then you had one guy, he had a towel around his middle, and he was putting his feet up the sink, and then he was getting the hair blower, and he was blowing his balls, mate. Like, I'm not kidding you. He was getting the hair blower, and he was putting it under the towel, dry blowing his balls. And I was thinking, what the hell is going on in this gym in Spain?
Oh, man, I've never seen that before. Blow-dried ball sack. That's crazy.
And I'm questioning, did he shave it before and then balm it and then trying to dry out the balm? I don't know. I find it very odd.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. That is very strange. But in Holland, don't you do naked sauna? Or is that more north?
Yeah, we do naked sauna, but we're all like we value our hygienic surroundings, meaning if I'm in an area. So they had a steam bath there as well. But because all the guys are flipping, shaving everything there in that changing room, I'm thinking this area is a bit disgusting. That makes me not want to go into the sauna there, because I think that's going to be a bit disgusting as well. So if you're going to a sauna fully nude in the Netherlands or whatever, for example, Germany, there's no flipping way you're going to catch someone blow drying their balls or shaving themselves in the public area, because people would just not do that because it's disgusting.
Yeah, I agree. On the topic of disgusting pool and change room etiquette, anyone who's ever been to China can say that I think unequivocally the most disgusting pools I've ever been to are in China. They literally spit in the pool and smoke cigarettes on poolside. Man, I mean, spit in the pool. They get to the end of the pool and they
Get out of here.
100%. You hear them start to rev up like an old V8 and then in the pool. Big golly.
What the hell?
Mate, that you think blow drying your ball sack's bad. Imagine swimming past someone's phlegm. Oh, but mate.
I'm thinking about Chinese etiquettes. Is it true that Chinese culture, it's normal to burp or snort when the food is really good, right?
I've never heard that one, but I definitely know it's normal to snort and burp and clear your throat.
I think it's like you do healthy. That when the food is really good. So maybe what have happened is they would have something like a nice gel, or they had something like an electrolyte tap and they really like it. So they start like burping and snorting.
Oh, mate. I remember once in Chengdu, China, I was doing a pre-race session and I hit the wall, and you're just like recovering before the next rep, and I just hear hot in the as I'm pushing off, and I'm just thinking, I'm going to push off into this person's spit. It's disgusting.
That's why I don't like swimming. Okay, everyone, it is presents time. In the link in the show notes description, I have a free nutrition reader for everyone to download for free. Now, I made this reader because in the past, when I started out with the sport, I just had no clue what to do before a race. So I'm talking carbo loading, I'm talking pre-race, I'm talking breakfast, I'm talking hydration pre-race. So how much sodium should you take? How much electrolytes? How much should you extra hydrate? It's just like a lot of information. It's a big reader. And then what you should take pre-race, brekkie, what kind of products, what you shouldn't eat, and a little bit post-race. So yeah, it's a free reader for you to download for free because I'm your sugar daddy. The link is in the show notes description for everyone who wants that extra knowledge. All right, let's quickly... the T100 was was yesterday. Yesterday, meaning Sunday, the 6th of April in Singapore. And it was, there were 20 guys on the list, right? Did in the end 20 people start?
I think it was 20 or 19. I'm not sure. There was a couple last minute pullouts, but they got all the wild cards in. So yeah, it was an absolutely stacked field, mate. I mean, every single guy on there had won a 70.3 or a Pro Series or a T100 or something crazy. Like there was no guy. I remember looking at the start list before going down to the start, or I mean, even a few days before, and I'm just thinking, like, man, even if you get last, like every guy is like fully legit, So from what I heard about from a lot of the guys like Mika Newt that have been racing it now for a couple of years, they were just saying that there was by far the most competitive and intense T100 ever to be ran. And I think the whole incorporation of the new short course guys like Hayden, Leo, Vince, all the other guys that are coming in is really, really changing the game in long course or middle distance.
It is changing the game but I remember the T100 was pulled together back in the days because the prize money for long course triathletes, first of all, the prize money was shit. And second of all, there was no certainty for triathletes. So, for example, for women triathletes, so for women, if they wanted to have, let's say, become pregnant, there is no. Normally, if you work for a boss, you still get your salary, right? Whereas as a triathlete, you cannot go. How do you call it? Mature leave,
maternity leave,
maternity leave. Exactly. So the T100 was there, and Also for professional athletes that were contracted or were in the team. I don't even remember the exact things, but were able to
PTO,
go for a
PTO.
maternity leave. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why originally the T100 started to support long course athletes. Then the distance, 2 kilometer swim, 80K bike, and an 18K run, marks 100K. Isn't your typical really long distance, as it's shorter than a half. But you can see, if you look at the list now, like, are there any real long distance athletes? Like, now with the Olympic cycle coming to an end and all the Olympic athletes coming in, you can see it raises the game. It really is just an extra long Olympic distance, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was the impression I had. Like, you've got, I don't know how many Olympians in there, medalists, world champions. There's I don't think there's such a thing anymore as like the middle distance specialist. Or I think if you go long now, you go long, like
Yeah,
you go Ironman. But I think it's very hard to be an Ironman guy or a traditional long course guy and compete anymore at this distance,
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I think. And well, how does it work? So if you're a federation supported athlete, so from short course,
Yeah.
and you're a contracted athlete for the T100, does that mean you're like getting best of both worlds?
I mean, yeah, in my opinion, if you're juggling it properly, like I'm sure Leo and Hayden will do, like they're going for like a double objective where they're trying to be competitive in the World Series for the World Short Course title, and they're also competing for the World Long Course title. So you're effectively got guys that are now able to race anything from super sprint up to middle distance on any given weekend and just completely be world beaters, whereas before it was always like, oh, how long is it going to take this guy to step up to middle distance, or like,
Yeah,
can they do it over the mixed relay? But like now it's, I mean, a guy like Hayden, I think everyone now knows that this guy can win from Super League up to 70.3 and no problem, like he can
crazy.
dominate. He's crazy,
Yeah,
he can dominate anything, and the power he puts out and the speed he runs, and it's just almost, I guess people are probably starting to wonder how they're going to beat him. Like it's kind of crazy. And then you have Leo as well, who's Olympic medalist, now T100 podium, and world champion. Like the Palmares these guys are getting
is
now. It's
if you
it's
compare the
crazy.
men's field to the women's field, Olympic wise to long distance athlete, is it the same in the women's field now? With more, there are definitely some more short distance athletes in there, but in the women's field, you still see quite some long distance athletes.
Yeah, I think that in the women, there's more of an opportunity to be a kind of middle distance specialist. I mean, there is as well in the men, but I think you see a lot more guys coming up from the World Series than you do in the women.
Hmm.
Obviously, the winner this weekend, Kate Woff, was the winner. She is from a short course background and is still juggling a double calendar, which is going to be interesting to see. Same with Taylor Nibb, who's come up from short course. Same with Ash, but now Ashley Gentle is more of a middle distance specialist. But
Hmm.
yeah, you have more people like Hannah Berry, who was fourth. You have more
Lucy Charles
people,
third.
Lucy Charles, who are
Yeah,
very kind of long distance athletes.
yeah,
You have more. You definitely have more of a divide,
yeah.
and I wonder if that just comes from the fact that men are maybe a bit more arrogant or self-assured and like, yeah, I can do that, man. Yeah, I can do that, man. Whereas I think maybe the women are inclined to just kind of take it slowly and play it safe, and which makes, obviously they're more prone to injury and
Hmm.
and such things. So it makes sense given the physiology of the female body. But yeah, I think there's definitely more of a gap for middle distance
I also
specialists
don't
in the
know
women.
opportunity wise, as in sponsors are. I think a lot of sponsors are more. How do you say that? So certain, let's say, a bike sponsor sponsors an Olympic athlete, a male Olympic athlete, and a female Olympic athlete. They're getting like a road bike, right? But then if they
Yeah,
want to do a T100, they need a TT bike as well, and maybe they're more keen for, I don't know what kind of reasons, to help a certain dude out, because I don't know, that's how old fashioned some of the companies still are. So you don't know whether
yeah,
some women athletes want to step up to long course, but cannot, because you need a bike. In the
yeah,
end, you
yeah.
need a TT bike and all the parts you need like 16 grand. I don't know. Yeah,
16. Yeah, more like 30, 40 by the time you've been aero testing. And I mean, that was the other big thing this weekend that absolutely blew my mind is like the amount of detail and the amount of kind of aero testing that these top guys are doing. Like I thought I was decently set up, I was
Yeah.
quite confident with my setup, but now that I look back at the photos and I look at my power compared to other guys' power for for a slower time, actually, I'm thinking, man, holy shit, like I really need to invest. I need to invest in my position. I need to invest in gear. I need to invest in bottle positioning and suit material and helmet choice and everything, and you just start to think like the point at which the sport is being pushed compared to even just 5, 6, 7 years ago, where you could ride with,
Hmm.
just stock bars and, GP 5000s on the front and 2 deep wheels, and you were pretty much good to go. Man, it's a totally different ball game these days.
Is it then unfair that certain athletes have bigger pockets than other athletes, and then you always will have a disadvantage because they will have the resources and everything to test everything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Saying it's unfair, I think, is probably a bit much because these, a lot of these top guys, they've earned that money, So
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
someone like Ditlev started off on a standard setup and obviously got better and invested and got better and invested, and now he spends, I've heard upwards of 60 grand a year on his aero stuff.
Really?
Yeah, 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 man. Like Magnus, I've heard some stories that he's turned down like loads and loads of money from companies that have offered him product, and he's tested and gone, no, not quicker, I'm not taking it. So that's the type of mentality these guys are in, like um so yeah, I mean, when you're fighting guys like that, you need to kind of at least do your best with what you've got, because
Yeah.
if you're not doing that, like I said, I pushed 310 watts for 80k, and I was 2.5 minutes down on a guy who I know is data pushed 280. So he pushed 30 watts less and was 2 minutes up the road.
And the draft zone is 20 meters.
Yeah. So you're properly,
Yeah.
properly TTing. You can
Yeah.
feel the 20 compared to the 12. It's 12 feels like drafting compared to the
Yeah.
20.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but with Formula One, everyone has the same car, same engine. So it's yeah, that's a hard. So, but anyway, the weekend. So you got the week over there in Singapore. Does everyone mingle together, or like stories in the air?
Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty nice vibe. I mean, it was my first T100 race, and to be honest, it's, I think, by far the most professional setup I've been a part of. They had the mechanic that unpacked the bike, dialed it in, they repacked it at the end of the week, and then the media stuff is professional, and the race site is right in the marina. You've got recovery area, athlete zone, massage, like everything you want. Like it's
Yeah.
genuinely unbelievable, the setup, and I was privileged to be a part of it. I hope I can come back soon. Hit me up for another wild card. But yeah, no, it was great, and they put us up in a great hotel. But I think it's definitely got a future, and the series, like I said, is just like everyone said after the race, it's just way more competitive than it's ever been. So I'm it's exciting to see it grow in that way, I think.
How many age groupers were there starting?
Yeah, quite a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
when I got down to the start, I was impressed at the amount of people coming through, especially, it's one thing to do a triathlon in like France when it's 25 degrees or 22 degrees and you kind of, it is still a big achievement, but man, the people that haul themselves around a T100 distance in Southeast Asia, like massive respect, because it was 33 degrees, not 100% humidity, some crazy thing out there. And, yeah, again, respect to the people, because I nearly bonked and died out there. So respect to them.
Did you were saying that you went out too hard on the swim?
Yeah. So it's weird because like in a World Series, I'll just have a feeling of what it feels like. So I just thought to myself, okay, I'm going to go easier, and obviously I'll be less tired. But as I got out of the water, I saw my heart rate, and I was talking to Vincent Louis about it actually after the race. I was like 187 as I got onto the bike, and I was like, oof, that's high.
Yeah.
And obviously then my heart rate just sat at above 175, which was way too, I mean, I'd been training in Abu Dhabi to be around 155 to 165, and I'm already like 10 beats over my maximum. I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh no. And then I was just on the bike, just, looking at the power, seeing 330, 340, 350, 343. And I'm just thinking like, surely it's going to calm down at some point. Like I was 30, 40 minutes in thinking, I can't hold this anymore, bro. Like I'm going to fucking explode. So I just like dropped back to 310, which was my target power.
Yeah.
And I just sat there. I just sat there basically because I just couldn't sustain it anymore,
And who was still in that front pack when you had to drop?
Who was still in the front pack?
Yeah.
Nino Coolhouse, your friend.
Was he still in there?
Yeah. Yuri was still there. Yella was still there. Leo, Matisse.
Oh, Yuri
Rico.
Kunin?
Yeah. Dutch represent.
Yeah. Oh, he had a good swim then, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a good swim. Yeah. He had a great race. Actually, it was really solid.
He did have a really good race.
Yeah. But yeah, there you go. That's a bit my race weekend. Obviously, like I would have liked to be inside the top 10, top 8, but I think I've got it in me. I just need to, like I said, invest a bit of time in the aerodynamics and yeah, like really respect not only the distance, but like
if you would have taken the swim easier, do you think you would have got dropped from the swim group?
No, I think if I'd have taken this swim, because Leo came out 40 seconds behind me, and I know he's a better swimmer than that, so he was obviously playing the race super smart, like, and then he on the bike, he was taking his time and he didn't move up, and then all of a sudden he moved up, and I just think that basically it was a combination of me not being very experienced and being a bit too hasty,
But too greedy, you'd say.
Yeah, maybe a bit too greedy, maybe a bit underestimated, which is funny because when I watched the women's race yesterday, I said to myself, I'm not going to overswim, man, because Flora cooked herself in the water. Ash probably cooked herself in the water, and same with Julie Deron, and they all had races they didn't want to have. And I was just like, I'm not doing that. And then I went out and did exactly that.
I always undercook myself in the water. Like I literally start up zone 1, 2, and I was thinking like, how do people even swim zone 4 for such a long time?
Yeah, you would have been good at this race then, undercooking yourself. Yeah, I want to say, dude, honestly, honorable mention to Sam Long. That guy.
I had the exact same thing. I wanted to say the exact same thing.
That guy, I met him for the first time here. He's actually a really nice guy, but how the hell do you keep going after being 6.5 minutes down out of the water, man? Like, and he came past me like a train, and he finishes like 8th. Like,
when did he came past you? On the bike?
He came past me 4K, 5K into the run, and I was running quick at that point. I was running quick for the conditions. I was running like 3:35. That was before my explosion. And he came past me at like 3:20s, and I was like, "What the hell, man? Crazy."
I did want to say, like, it's just phenomenal to keep going after. You're not the greatest swimmer, so he's like, let's say he's like a good swimmer, but he's a bad swimmer compared to the level at T100.
Yeah,
you're coming out of the water. Literally, the dust is blowing through the transition zone where you still need to go through, and then you get on your bike, and you can hear that you've got a 6-minute deficit, 6-minute plus. That must be so unmotivating. But then he flipping gets on that Pink Panther and he starts spanking it, and I find it remarkable. Like it's really.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely nothing to say. No matter what you think about the guy, like you say, take your hat off to that, because I think if I was 6 minutes down
mentally, it's just so tough.
Yeah, I'd just walk straight into VIP and just get a beer. Like, all right, day done. 6.5 minutes down.
let's shower. It's done. Day done.
Yeah, no. I've actually got another high during the race. I just want to give a shout out. I don't know who he is. I don't know who this guy is, man. But there was a guy on the side of the course for the whole race barking at me and shouting David Goggins quotes at me, dude. Like one time I came up the hill and he goes, "Pain is weakness leaving the body, brother." And it actually really helped. So like, I don't know what your name is, mate, but thanks. If you can come to every race and scream that shit, I'd be more than happy.
But it is good though. It's good when people do that, or when it makes the race feel because when you laugh, if you need to laugh, you're taking your emotions from your body away from the pain.
Yeah.
For a second.
For sure. But even, I think like you can get caught up with your inner bitch, don't you ever think you start feeling sorry for yourself. You're like, oh, this is hurting so much, whatever. And then all you need is for someone on the sidelines to like flip you out of that mentality. And you're like, yeah, I'm back.
I'm back, baby.
I'm back, baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to the Goggins influencer on the side. I don't know if he had like a notepad full of quotes that he was just like pumping out.
Maybe you made a little PDF file. PDF file with Goggins quotes.
Yeah, if you ever see us at races, just pump out the Goggins stuff, man. Anywhere I go, just if you want to get me pumped up, scream out some Goggins shit.
Hey, what about Martin Van Riel doing Ironman South Africa, coming in second last week, and now he did T100 literally 6 days later. Massive layover, massive transition, massive like heat transition.
Yeah.
Within a week, second at T100 Singapore. Like, wow, that is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, on the same level as Sam Long, like, I think everyone here, the athletes are like, yeah, man, he's just going to jump in the water, get the paycheck and park it up in VIP. Blah, blah, blah. And then, dude, this guy goes out and gets third.
Did people think
insane.
that? Like, there's no way
100%.
after an Ironman. Yeah, they probably
100%. Dude, we were at breakfast the morning of, like, when's he going to pull out?
Yeah.
I was like, lap one on the bike, man.
What? Yeah. That is. It's. I mean, it's easier to do a T100 and then an Ironman after, but to do the Ironman before, wow.
Yeah, that is incredible. Honestly, like, again, another tip of the hat, man. Martin, super solid, incredible.
Yeah,
yeah,
nuts.
So, what's new in your world then? Anything going on with how's Gonna Fuel going? Is it going up?
It is actually all right. We're focusing now on the basically the marketing wise. Well, the only international marketing what I can do is like the podcast, but we're trying to build a marketing strategy basically just for Amsterdam, Utrecht, and Rotterdam. So 3 big cities in the Netherlands. It's just you got to check what works, you know. So the product is like it works, it's good, but how do you get the product to the customer and how do they understand what it is? So that's basically so the first 3 weeks was good but then you still have a lot of people that either listen to the podcast or follow me on Instagram that want to support you and see what it's like and the feedback and everything. People flip and love it, but then you need to reach an audience that's beyond that, because if you want to build a brand you cannot rely on an audience that's following you, but you need to like reach beyond it. So that's now the next task, and that is well, I wouldn't say it's challenging in a way, but it's also like you learn new things. So that's mainly how my week looks. So I'm literally in 30 minutes, I'm going to Bas and we're going to have a meeting about like the strategy. We're going to record some reels, baby. A bit more explanatory, for example, about the product. And that's that. Perfect. And on Friday, I'm heading to Ibiza for the marathon, which is going to be the practice marathon, because in 2 weeks after that, I've got London. And to be fair, I think on my best day, I can run a 2:37 in London. So I'm hoping to do a 2:30 later this year in Valencia. Do you think 2:37 is quick?
I think it's pretty decent. Anytime you go under 2:40, I think it's good.
I mean, I shouldn't sound like I myself think it's slow. You know, I think it's flipping rapid, and probably people listening to the podcast think it's rapid. But I just look at these flipping Ironman dudes that do it in an Ironman. You know, they run the same pace in an Ironman. Like flipping Deadlift did it in South Africa. So but yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So for Ibiza, what will you do? I'm either doing the 32K run, because then I'm passing the finish line, so I can like DNF. Or I'm doing the full marathon, but it's quite taxing. I'm not going to do it at race pace. I was thinking either I'm going to do 21Ks at race pace, so that's a marathon pace, and then like 5Ks easy, and then 5Ks at above race pace, and then 10Ks easy. Or I'm going to do 2x10s at race pace and 1.5 above race pace. What will you do? What do you think is a nice thing?
I think I'd just do the first half marathon at marathon pace. And if you can keep going to 30K, keep going to 30K and then warm down 10K.
Yeah, because you would do like a 30K at marathon pace.
Yeah, because you want 2 weeks, you got time to recover. I think it gives you a good indication of where you're going to be at 30K, how you're going to feel, if you need to change your fueling, if you need to change your pacing. I think that's I think going for the half marathon and then seeing if you can keep pushing it. I think that's good, because it's like, that'll be about 75% of race distance. Like, I think that's pretty good. That's what I'd do.
Yeah, I'm probably trying to lock in at 3:45s, 3:48s.
Nice.
The marathon in Ibiza is hilly. It's a hilly
Yeah.
race apparently. But anyway, I'm gonna try it. I'm really looking forward to it. And then London, but I've seen some sneaky sessions from Alex Yee. Have you seen what he's
I was going to say the reason
my
I said
God.
30K is because he's doing 30K sessions, man.
Yeah, but he did
I
it a
saw
week
yesterday-
ago.
Man, I saw he did 30K at 3:04, dude.
Oh my
That's
God. Sickening. Yeah.
that's dirty. Yeah, I'm keen, man. I want to see what he runs. I want to see what time he runs. I'm keen as.
But if you're
And I actually
doing
spoke
like
to Hugo.
a full marathon at 3:05 pace, what kind of marathon time will that be?
Oh, let me ask
That is,
ChatGPT.
I think, a 2:07, isn't it? 2:07, 2:08.
What is 3:04 per km marathon time? ChatGPT, always your best friend.
Is it one of your better mates?
2 hours 9.
Oh, so he needs to go a bit quicker than that if he wants to do under 2:07. Oh my God, that is.
That is. Oh, I didn't realize how fast 2:07 was. So 3 minutes and 4 seconds per kilometer. It gives you an official time of 2:09:20.
Oh my God.
Wow. I didn't realize how fast 2:07 was for some reason.
I don't even think I can run that for 2 kilometers.
Yeah, you can. Surely.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look how much 2:07. If you're aiming for a 3-minute Ks is 2:07.
Holy shit. 3-minute K pace. I think he's now a bit doubting, isn't he? Do you think? As in, ooh, that might be a bit tasty. 3-minute K pace for a full marathon.
I'll predict right here and now. I think he goes between 2:07 and 2:09.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I think he does. Honestly, I think he does. Which would still be crazy.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Exciting times. You'll be able to watch it in person.
I'm going to watch it from the behind.
For the first K.
I will see him at the same hotel though. We're staying at the one of the hotels from New Balance. So yeah, I'll see what he's got in the tank. It will be fun.
Nice.
I don't even think, because sometimes you see these videos, right, where people just start running mega quick just to be in the coverage.
You should do that.
I don't even think you can run quick enough to be in the coverage.
Yeah, because they're probably going to go off at like 250.
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually spoke to Hugo Milner, who's like pacing him, and I said, yeah, but like if you're in really good shape, bro, surely you're just going to keep going, you know? Because he says he's pacing till 30K. And apparently as a part of the pacing contracts, they actually can't keep going because they'll lose their money. Yeah, I didn't know that. Did you know that?
What do you mean a pacing contract?
So he has a contract for a certain amount of money to pace till 30K. That's his contract.
With New Balance or something?
With the 210 group, I think.
Okay.
And
he gets paid from the London Marathon?
Or a brand. I'm not too sure who.
Okay.
But he gets paid by someone, but it must be with London Marathon. Otherwise, he wouldn't have that obligation, right? And I said, man, what if you get to 30K and you're like, oh, I feel great. You know, like I'm just going to go for a PB. I'm going to go for a 210. He said, no, I can't. I would lose all my money. I would lose everything.
But why? Why does it matter? Why can't he continue? Why do you think people would do that?
I don't know. Why would he continue, you say?
Would it be the same as, for example, Eliud Kipchoge, who wanted to run the sub 2, and all of a sudden you had this random dude from Eton that was going to pace him, but then run it in like 1:58, and he's like, "What's going on, everyone? I'm the new king in town,
new dog on the block."
Yeah, maybe that's why. I don't know, because
I guess so.
They build a certain hype around a character and a certain, I don't know, maybe that's got something to do with it. All right, before we're heading over to the bullshit buster, Maxi, I quickly wanted to talk about Ironman Oceanside, so the 70.3 in Oceanside this weekend, which not only it looks like a very nice race as an age grouper, it's always a crazy stacked field. I remember getting into the sports that Giannis Frodeno, all-time GOAT, he won it the year that I started doing triathlon. But this weekend, have you seen that list this weekend? It was nuts, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. And the king, our savior, our Lord and Savior, Lionel Sanders, came out on top. What a legend. 32 Ironman,
Did you,
70.3 victories.
there's just two things I wanted to say about this race. Like, I don't want to go over the tactics and everything and over the race results. But first of all, did you think Lionel Sanders, being, yes, he's an athlete, but he's like a social media star is his job. Did you think that he was going to win this race beforehand? Like, legit think?
No way. I had
You
Christian all
disagree?
the way. I had Christian winning all the way.
And then, I mean, apart from Christian, you thought he was coming in second or third?
I didn't think he'd even be, to be honest, in the top 4 or 5, given the
I
field.
thought because he's not the best swimmer with this field and the current race tactics that he exactly was not going to be in the top 5. But then he is the former world champion and has won 77 70.3s, which is flipping nuts. Like, if you think about it, like, why would you rule him out? But just the way that he won this race, I thought it was crazy. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I know. Congrats. I mean, it's always good to see, like you might not think it's possible, but when he does it, you still love it anyway. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I love it.
Because he's just such order in chaos, when you see him
Yeah.
in his YouTube videos messing around with chocolate milk and I'm going to do it all different. I'm stupid mistake. And then he's like, I got to learn how to swim. He's just changing all this stuff every week. And then he's just training like a clown that he's acting like he's got no clue what he's doing. Yeah. He's then wiping the whole, like probably one of the most stacked fields ever. Just, I just found it very,
Congrats.
and then the second field, you were thinking Christian Blumenfeld for the win.
Yeah.
And I think he ran a world record pace in a 70.3, didn't he?
107. Yeah.
107.10 or something. 107.
That's like 313 per K, 312 per K off the bike.
That's nuts, don't you think?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a real threat for the season to come for sure. He's going to be a threat in the Pro Series, man, if he's running.
So
like
the reason why he was not in the top 5 or top 7 was because he had a flat tire. And yes, in triathlon, which is super childish, you need to be self-sufficient, especially when you're talking about the sport like this. I mean, you can't see Pogacar changing his wheel during Flanders when he rides a flat. Too bad there wasn't any bike support for him, but that ruled him kind of out at the race because he was at the front and then he lost like 13 minutes. But running a 107, like, holy crap.
Yeah, good on him. And special shout out to friend of the podcast and one of my homies, Seth Ryder, for 4th.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And
he was in the mix for.
Yeah.
I saw he's saying he was going like when Lionel passed him, so he was leading, and then Lionel passed him, and he was like, "I'm going to go with him," and then he cooked himself.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good to see Seth's had some couple challenging years, so it's good to see him back at the front of a race, and I think he's finding his feet again, which is great. So,
is he now officially moving to long distance?
I think he's still doing a bit of both, but obviously a bit more long stuff. But it's a great early sign for sure.
All right, for the bullshit buster for this week, I had someone send me a video through, and it was a video of a guy doing an FTP test, but then blindfolded. So he's on the trainer. He had he was blindfolded and he was doing an FTP test. Now, why could that be of any good, do you think, Max?
I guess because you just can't see your power. So maybe you're not actually overthinking the numbers.
But how do you know how much time you're in?
Because
if you spank it out too hard. Like the swim.
Then you end up in the K-hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there could be some benefit to it if you're trying to get like an accurate RPE. When people say, "What's your RPE?" and you say whatever out of 20, and then you can now then train to RPE because you've done your FTP blindfolded, so you know what 300 watts feels like in terms of your RPE. Maybe that could be a reason.
Or he took shine. What is it called? Train in the dark, shine in the light.
Too literally.
It could be anything.
Yeah, it could be anything. But yeah, I don't know if that's. I think that is bullshit. You don't need to do your FTP as blindfolded.
It's completely nuts.
Imagine you rocking up to a lab and being like, "Okay, I want you to test me, but first blindfold me up."
But I mean, I would be able to do it, for example, with a real short, hard effort, like blindfold yourself and a bit of a kinky effort. But
Kinky.
If it's like a long FTP test, sometimes I've got this when I'm riding indoors, when I'm riding on Swift, I'm riding and I'm watching like a TV show or whatever. And I'm thinking like, oh, how long how long are we going for already? And then you're hoping to see something like 40 minutes. And if the clock's then at like 6 minutes, 25, you think like, oh my God, it's going to be a ride like this.
That's the worst.
If that's the same with riding an FTP test blindfolded, then, oh my God, you're going to be scarred for life.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So yeah, bullshit busted. Don't do your FTP test blindfolded.
Exactly. And if you find any more bullshit busters, send them over in our DMs. For now, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you back next week.
See you, dogs.